Goldberg opening message for the show is Ifara. This means patience or endurance, and Omoluabi is an individual of this great virtue called perseverance. On today's edition, we will be examining the case study of marital and domestic violence. A video went viral 3 weeks ago in which a couple had a common domestic disagreement, which apparently led to a bitter quarrel and then the killing of the wife by the spouse, Sylvester Ofori, in Orlando, United States. And of course, we know all of this happen regularly in our daily lives. So the husband happens to be a pastor, a leader of a known church, and the wife, a beautiful young lady. Because of time, I won't be narrating the whole story, but of course there are multiple faces to the story and many angles of impact of the occurrences. So there is the legal side of it, and of course there is a weapon handling angle, the pastoral perspective as well, and the police and security view to this story. However, the content on the show is the rise in the cases of domestic violences and marital abuses or abuse. This is a trend in our society that needs a pragmatic solution and deserve a quality enlightenment in the areas of relationship, marriage, and of course the well-being of partners. To discuss this with me is a professional life coach, a family therapist, who over time has gained critical insights and wealth of experience in this field. He is a strategist whose guidance and mentoring has revealed talents and shaped success for people in both affairs and in both personal affairs, so to speak, and relationship engagement. And of course, it is important for me to also include that I've also benefited from him in all of these challenges of the topic at hand today. So he is a life coach, a family therapist, a strategist, and he's no other than Praise Fowowe. Help me ring the bell. Thank you.
Thank you, Kike, for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time out. It's great to have you on set today, of course, via phone lines. I believe every time set aside for personal and family development is a good time, and I can't help but say thank you, Lord. Thank you for coming on the show today, because I know that the timing was quite short, but again, thank you for honoring my invitation.
My pleasure. Anything for you.
All right, first things first, are you Praise? And now I hope you've been staying safe in this period of COVID-19, like my daughter will call it coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fine.
Okay.
I've been working indoor, hardly go out. It's been interesting. Good thing is, we were well prepared for it, so it just changed the format in which we did our job, and now we could do a lot more at a higher level virtually.
All right, well done. So of course, let's just go straight to the business at hand. We quite understand that domestic matters snowball. However, what are the causes of violence in a relationship or marriage?
I think I've worked with families for 18 years, and it's some area I love to research on.
Okay.
Especially when people began to kill themselves in Nigeria. My research has concluded right now that there is what we call culture compatibility, or belief alignment. I think that's the biggest problem, biggest reason for domestic violence that is least talked about, in the sense that a lot of people are getting married whose beliefs are not in sync.
Okay.
So there is a test that we run people through that shows that. So for example, if you ask a question, a man is superior, or if you just make a statement like a man is superior to a woman, and you ask them to agree or disagree, the moment the man says agree and the woman says disagree, that's already a problem. Because when especially people of faith who quote don't be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. An unbeliever is simply someone who doesn't believe what you believe. So, for example, if you believe that both of us are the same and we are a team, and he doesn't believe the same, he believes he's acquiring a property, domestic violence has already occurred, unknown to you. So the day you try to, because you are assuming that you are the same and you are a couple and you are a team, the day you try to activate that, you're going to get a slap, because it means something else. So if you ask questions like, it's the duty of who should cook in the relationship, and the guy said it's the woman, and the woman says any of us should cook. These are various areas that it shows that their culture is not aligning. So basically, consistently, you find out that what we have is a situation where first world consistently gets married to third world. And the moment their mannerism, their way of life, their exposure worldview is never the same. And the moment one person, because first world or third world, I'm using that carefully, doesn't mean where you live, it's a state of your mind. So you have a lot of PhD holders who are not exposed, kind of, and you have a lot of people who don't even have a degree who have exposed their mind to power. So consistently, when people don't align in their beliefs, and when your culture and your beliefs does not promote love, equity, and does not promote respect and dignity of persons, it's going to be a culture that will sabotage people. So let me give you latest statistics. There is what they call the World Population Index, which shows the worst countries to live in. Now, the 12 worst countries to live in, 11 of the 12 are African countries. And they are all countries that do not believe in gender equality, and they don't also believe in the empowerment of the girl child.
Interesting.
Now, the best 12 countries to live in all practice gender equality, and they place premium on the education of the girl. In fact, many of them are led by women in their country. So that already shows us a trend. When a child is born and you're asking questions, boy or girl, and he says boy, and you say, oh, okunimeta, and he says girl, and you say, oh, you're a lazy man. That's where it starts from.
Sure.
So when we don't see humanity, when we don't define accurately who a woman is, or who a female and male is, a male is not the superior gender. A male is simply the masculine representation of humanity, while the female is the feminine representation of humanity. When we agree on that, then we would realize that we begin to collaborate as against fighting for superiority or inferiority. This quest for superiority or inferiority is the major reason for domestic violence.
All right, thank you so much for that submission. And because the viral video, which is our case study for today, we all saw, the world saw both spouses, they had bright and beautiful beginning with their colorful marriage, and the union is barely 3 years according to some of the content that we saw online. What could, my question is, what could have happened along the line that would have brought so much hatred, because that's the word now, knowing that so we've lost the life of the woman?
I think it could have been so many factors. I would want to believe that guy has a mental health problem.
Okay.
That was not diagnosed ahead of time.
Okay.
And I think it's a wake-up call for a lot of religious leaders. They work so hard, and then they burn out, and they don't know that they are burnt out. The fact that the man is preaching, and the followers can't read in between the lines. A lot of people are depressed and they don't show it.
True.
So that guy is, because I saw the video before that, where he began to threaten that he was going to kill the woman. So why did she go back? Why didn't they take her away? Again, we are very subjective in the religious space, where we say that God says nobody should divorce. But we forget that the covenant of life is superior to every other form of covenant. So we would rather allow people die in a relationship, because you can actually separate. What we say to people is that set up a war room. So if we say prayer has no distance, you don't need to set up the war room where the abuser is. You can set far away from the person. So I'm sure they would have prevailed to say, oh, don't worry, things will be better. It's the devil that wants to separate you and blah, 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 blah. And the lady went back and eventually carried out his threat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he went out of his way to
deliberately
to say one day I'm going to kill my wife, but when anger becomes uncontrollable and a man never takes threats lightly, the moment someone begins to say, I'm going to kill you someday, whether out of play or out of anger, he's going to carry it out eventually, because he will start gravitating towards that direction. He may not even mean it, but he has set up the energy, and it will be accomplished at the end of the day. So I would want to think that a lot has gone wrong in their relationship. They were just keeping up appearance, which is what a lot of people do, you know, and because it's a pastor, because a lot of people don't know that you are a pastor, you are not a, you are a pastor and a husband. When you leave the pulpit, you need to become a husband. You can't be a pastor at home, but
well said.
Forget the fact that you have a lot of people as a pastor, church members warm up to you, they clap for you, our Father in the Lord. So, I mean, it becomes very tough to step down from that stage when you get home and someone is talking to you as your wife, as your friend, and you begin to expect the same level of honor and respect from her, and you begin to take her as, I mean, that can't you respect your Father in the Lord as well? I mean, this lady married a lover. She didn't marry a Father in the Lord, you know. So it's a lot of issues in there, but I think the guy has got some mental health issues that was not addressed on time.
All right, thank you so much, Praise. You know, of course, the killer being a pastor, which is one thing I think that I need to emphasize in my next question, because how differently should have the matter been approached by him or the church to change the narrative from what eventually happened? Listening to you,
I even think that it's not even the church, it's the fact that people need to understand that you are a single person, a single soul. Then when you get married, marriage is not compulsory for starters. It's an optional institution. And that when you get into a marriage, I mean, it's the coming together of a man and a woman to create a new nation. So it's a nation building mandate. You are together to create something. Now, the moment two can no longer work together, now the things begin to fall apart. So when your life is under threat, you activate the covenant of life, which is the covenant of safety. I mean, it's like standing in the middle of the road, 911 lorry is approaching you, and you are praying that may I not die. You're going to die, you know. So the woman, and that calls into question her esteem, calls into question how she was raised, how she sees herself, you know, maybe stigma of living a marriage. Separation is not divorce. Once your life is under threat, even the law permits you to separate. She could have sought an injunction. That wasn't done. And a lot of the time, I don't know if they escalated it to church. If they have escalated it to church, I don't know the constitution of that church. I don't know the people on the board of that church, because in many cases, based on corporate governance, the board of the church should be more powerful than the pastor. But we know in a lot of the black churches abroad, it's not like that. You just put people on the board who also look up to the pastor. So when you look up to the pastor can slap someone and they will say it's holy anger. It's the anger of the Holy Spirit, it's the move of the Spirit. You know, we read spiritual meanings to things that, you know, we should frown at. Yeah. You know, so the guy outgrows accountability. So even the people on the board everybody will not be praying for him silently till the question is, okay, if they can't deal with him, whom they have called his mentor, he calls into question, who is his mentor? Who ordained him into ministry? These are questions that we can't answer. But ideally, a proper church would have been able to deal with that, because the moment you begin to beat your wife, you're not qualified to actually preach to anybody. You need to get help with your anger management. If that had been done, you would have been humble. But that wasn't done, so you just let an abuser loose to carry out, you know, murder, as it were. But I would ask, what happened to the lady? What happened to her family? Why will she go back to that environment? You know, that people must learn to first choose themselves before any other thing. Yes, I do everything to save a marriage. But once a life is under threat, I would ask my client, what do you want? What will promote your mental wellness? The moment someone begins to say, you know what, Praise, if I stay here, I'm going to kill this guy, I will tell her, please, it's better you stay away and not commit, because that has happened consistently. The case that happened in Nigeria the last time, you know, the lady has been off and on the relationship, you know, but she went back. Eventually, the guy killed her and messed her up. So we need to understand that it takes someone that is alive to love, to be loved, to marry, to stay married, and to take care of children.
Thank you so much on that.
You are gone. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And society must begin to celebrate and accommodate people who made it out of an abusive marriage alive, instead of stigmatizing them and becoming them after one, after two, after three. No. You need to understand that not many people made it alive out of an abusive relationship. And there are so many women and men in abusive relationships who can't even speak up. I mean, I've seen people with injuries that you ask them, where I say I fell off the stairs. Meanwhile, the husband who is maybe anointed and picking her up and all this kind of thing. So people need to begin to cry out and get help. And what I say is, even after you are separated and you want to come back, you need to go through proper counseling session, professional counseling, not subjective. And it needs to be made to sign an undertaking, before you ever come together. So it's not as simple as it is when people get into domestic violence and you call the elders and they say, okay, you two, what are you saying? You two, this is what. No. And again, I always advise singles that you need to read in between the lines. Don't just fall in love sheepishly. The moment someone gets angry and is hitting the wall, or you meet him, he's beating his younger sister, because a sensible human being who is emotionally stable does not settle scores with fist, with beating, with fighting.
Absolutely.
The moment someone hits his car in traffic and he gets down to begin to slap the person, that's a potential wife beater. That's a potential husband beater. Don't overlook it because you are not the one is beating, right?
Yeah.
Or beating his sister, or maybe the sister was rude to you and he slapped the sister. The moment you marry him, the day you offend him, he's going to slap you. These are the things, pointers that people can avoid, but we overlook it.
I agree with you, Praise. So let me use this opportunity to open our phone lines. Please join us by calling the phone line 0700 923 923 923. Again, 0700 923 923. And of course, you can send us a message on WhatsApp 0817 313 6193. Let's hear your perspective. If you have questions for our guests, please go ahead and hit us with your queries, your comments, suggestions, and all. So Praise, listening to you, I can't help but thank God that I'm alive during this era, and we have people like you who can enlighten the public at large and also make them understand that there are some traditions that can be broken. But going into, there's a question I need to ask. Family of individual spouses have a part to play in almost every context of marital challenges. I hope you understand what I'm saying, because all the things you've been saying in the past in terms of what the family people, how people return back to their marriages and all of that. So in this particular scenario, the wife's brother kept on emphasizing that the matter should be reported to the police on the basis of life threat. What are your lessons to learn from this? Before you answer that question, I think we have a caller on the line. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from, please? Oh, we lost. Hello? All right. Yeah, Praise. What are the lessons? Okay, we have another caller on the line. Hello, what's your name and where are you calling from, please? Oh God. All right. Yeah, Praise.
I think the lessons there is the fact that sometimes a whistleblower may save a life. In the sense that don't just say, when some matters are civil, when some matters are criminal in nature, you need to allow the appropriate authorities take charge. And I think that's where we believers need to be very careful, because we quote Bible on matters that should be dealt with by law enforcement agencies. So the question is, why didn't that guy call 911?
The brother.
Why called the police? He could have called the police and the matter could have been better handled, because there was already a threat to life. Once someone begins to say, I'm going to kill you, that's a threat to life, because that's not a statement you make, just by...
All right, Praise, can you hold that thought, please? Hello, we have a caller on the line. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Okay, my name is Ofori. I'm calling from LEKKI.
What's your contribution today?
Okay, I want to approach this subject from this perspective. It was so pathetic, listening to the story. I followed the story, I watched the video, and I saw what happened. And unfortunately, the lady was very foolish. As brother was saying, call the police, we have it on camera. And she was begging. The man told the brother, the pastor told the brother that if I don't kill your sister, then know that I'm a bastard. And the lady heard those comments and was still begging, and women can be foolish sometimes. The brother wants to save the life.
Be mindful of your language, please.
I'm very sorry, but the lady was not being wise. A man that is threatening to kill you, your brother wants to save your life, you were still begging, telling him to calm down. Now the brother had to calm down, and eventually, now we are discussing this, the lady is gone. Now what I want to say is this: once there is a threat to life, I am of the opinion that the marriage should be on hold until you resolve that difference. And if you see that this person is not changing, I will encourage a divorce. There is no law that says that you must remain in a marriage when your life is at stake.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. So, Praise, with what the what's it called, caller have said, I can't help but ask this question. Communication is a big challenge for marriages and also a cause of failure. So why is it that people don't communicate effectively in marriages, and sometimes communication is underestimated to resolve issues that affect relationship or matters of the heart, so to speak?
We were not taught to communicate. We were taught to speak. Everybody was taught to talk. Nobody taught us to communicate. And that's not something we do very well as Africans. We were taught, and never forget that we all came out of a military background where we were led by military leaders in the 80s and in the 90s. So basically communication is a skill. You need to learn it. It doesn't come naturally. And never forget that a lot of people get married without understanding, who their partner is. I mean, there's a class that goes consistently on creating a user's manual for people. Because with the user's manual, you know exactly who you are, you know exactly how you want to be talked to, you know exactly how you want to be corrected, you know exactly how you receive information and all those kind of things. So it's something we need to begin to emphasize, that people need to learn to master how to effectively communicate in a relationship, even before relationships.
All right, Praise, all right, go ahead, please. We had the caller on the line. Yes, sorry.
People must begin to learn how to settle scores and how to handle issues. So it's not something that comes naturally to us. It's a skill we all need to learn. And once we learn that skill, then it becomes very easy to think in a marriage.
All right, thank you so much for that submission. In your effective marital communication series, you mentioned that there's a principle of understanding which says that you must stoop to conquer. I find this, very profound. Can our audience have some enlightenment as regards to this? But before you answer that question, we have a caller on the line. Oh, we just lost that. So what's your opinion? Can you enlighten the listeners right now that are listening to you regarding one must stoop to conquer? Because I believe that is beginning to be. Hello? Sorry. Hello? All right. So
in a relationship, there are about 4 laws in there. You have the law of acceptance, which means you need to accept your spouse without raising questions. Problem is, many of us have someone else in mind that we want our spouse to be. So we don't accept their person, and I think that is insulting on the person of that person. So someone is a career person and you get married to the person and you begin to tell the person you need to leave your career to come and stay at home. It's absolute disrespect for that person. If you want to stay at home person, go to the village and pick someone who's jobless. Then number 2 is respect. And the principle of respect is whatever you respect, you attract. If you don't respect my person, there is no way you can talk to me effectively. Then understanding is the third one, which means if you look at the word understanding, it actually means standing under, which means you need to seek to understand before being understood. To say, who is my spouse? What is their personality type? Because again, the personality type determines the communication code and the communication language. So it's basically reading your spouse as a script. But you need to be humble. A lot of people are very arrogant. They come in a relationship, I'm a man. The moment they think they have money, I can handle a woman. Some women handle, some women will tell you the fact that I can cook the way to a man's artistry is belly. I mean, these are archaic beliefs that no longer hold water. How do you think that you can get into a man's artistry is belly? So people get in with the wrong information, so they don't even know what their spouse requires. And so you need to observe, you need to ask questions for you to better understand. For example, if you have an intimidating Oma, 4 categories of spouses. The intimidating Oma, who is a natural leader. For him, relationship is third, because work comes first, project comes next. Relationship is third, and for him is the blunt communicator. So there's no diplomacy at all, but you need to understand how to win with that person. But you have the systematic and the creative convertible, who is a bit diplomatic, but consistently repeats his mistake. You have the dependable truck, who is very slow. That's a perfect communicator because he doesn't like to ruffle feathers. But you have the systematic communicator, systematic force, who is a perfectionist. For him, life is right and wrong, up and down, white and black. There are no gray areas, and that kind of person is the kind of person that you say doesn't know how to talk, because he just says it without considering feelings. So you need to find out who your spouse is, the best communication clues for them. If you don't understand them, you'll just be talking anyhow, and they'll say they can't feel you, So that's why I always say, can you ask your spouse, how would you want me to correct you? When is the best time for you to be corrected? And if I have any information to pass to you, how best would you want me to do it?
Communicate.
And so if we understand this, and we create what we call a perceptual code. Perceptual code is a descriptive word that describes who you see in your spouse at every point in time, irrespective of what they do. So if you say my spouse is a royalty, question is, how do you talk to royalty? How do you correct royalty? How do you treat royalty? Once everybody has the perceptual code, it governs your behavior, it governs your communication, it governs everything you do with your spouse.
All right, thank you so much. Praise Fowowe. We have a message on our WhatsApp line. It said, "Good evening, Real Talk with Kike, and happy first anniversary celebration on the issue of marital and domestic violence. I believe that when verbal abuse becomes the order of the day in marriage, couples should begin to take caution. And the moment physical abuse starts, the victim should voice out immediately and not suffer in silence. Voicing out is the first step towards addressing the issue, in my own opinion. Anyways, I believe Mr. Praise Fowowe will address the issue in details. Of course, it's even educating every one of us, including me. But thank you very much, my life coach, Praise Fowowe, for your submission thus far. It proves all you've said in the past few minutes have proved that your expertise in the field and years of experience is top-notch and is nothing less than whatever we're expecting from you. But quickly, we'll go on a quick break and return after headline news. But first, a word from our sponsor. Do not touch that dial. This is Real Talk with Praise Fowowe.